Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Craig Burley and Ali Moreno. Lots to get through today. A little later on the show, the boys are reacting to the news that Leroy Sane dropped from the Germany squad for the World Cup. But we start with Sid Lowe, because Sid, there's been a lot of hoo-ha over the last 24 hours about the future... Hoo-ha is a technical term. About the future of Antoine Griezmann. It was suggested that he will, in fact, stay at Atleti. He's reported to L'Equipe that he hasn't made a decision yet. But a decision apparently will be made before the start of the World Cup, obviously heavily linked to a move to Barcelona.
Yeah, that's what he says, that the decision, he hopes to make it before the World Cup. He hopes to make it clear and public to everyone. It's important to point out, I think, that the recent stories about a decision having been made and that decision being supposedly that he stays at Atletico Madrid haven't come from him. These are stories about how Antoine Griezmann has supposedly told teammates that this is what he's going to do, that he's thinking that he's going to stay rather than move on. One of the things I think that actually happens with the Griezmann story, and this goes back to last season and even beyond, is there is a certain degree, I think, of kind of tiredness about this, because Griezmann has talked an awful lot about his future. He's dropped lots of hints on lots of occasions and then he's backed out. Remember last year when he said he was 6 out of 10 was the chance of him leaving Atletico Madrid? It didn't happen. I think he's complained when people have always asked him about his future, but then he's always offered it up as well. And I think right now, because he set that pre-World Cup deadline, there's a slight element, this is not to say that people are ignoring it, of course these stories come out and everyone laps them up, but there is a slight element of people saying, well, if he says till then, let's just wait and see what he says, shall we?
Sid, why would he stay if Barcelona are knocking at the door? Doesn't it seem a natural progression for his career?
Well, look, I mean, you know, this is intuitive rather than information, but I suppose there are two fundamental reasons that I can see at least why he would stay. Number one is that Atletico Madrid are going to drive an enormous truckload of money round to his house, and they're going to offer him the kind of contract that even Barcelona can't match, because they're aware that if they do want to keep on building, he's a player that they have to keep. And then the second one, I guess, is one about his own sense of self-worth, and that idea that maybe if he stays and Atletico Madrid achieve something, it will be about him, that he will be the central figure in that the sense of satisfaction will be enormous. And, for example, Miguel Ángel Marín, the chief executive at Atletico Madrid, of course, one of the majority shareholders as well, said that Antoine Griezmann could go to Barcelona and just effectively become any old player, or stay at Atletico Madrid and make history. Now, that's not entirely true. If you go to Barcelona and you win something, you get the chance to play with Messi, you get the chance to be arguably the second or third best team in Europe, maybe the first best team in Europe next year, who knows. But I suppose there is something in that sense of personal satisfaction perhaps would be greater at Atletico Madrid than somewhere else.
What would you do?
It's a difficult one because they're a good club. They've been successful. He obviously has a good relationship with the coach. They've got a good team bond there, which is something that's taken them through. Got them quite a long way, as well as the quality in their organisation. But I just feel... I thought last year was the time, another year down the line, I just feel it is the time for him to go. If he wants to make this one last big move in his career, I think the time is now. Listen, whether it's Spain, England, Germany, most clubs would take this player.
Sure.
Absolutely most clubs would take this player. So if I was him, I think it was time for a fresh start. But maybe he doesn't... Maybe it's not all about that. Maybe he's happy at Atletico Madrid. So I really don't know.
But if he was all about that, then you think, OK, well, then make your decision.
Yeah.
What is there to think about? If it is about Atletico Madrid and the shield and the thing and the pride, I'm going to be the main player here, I'm going to be the main guy, then come out and say it. You're going to be an Atletico Madrid player and we're not having this conversation. But the longer this goes to the sort of in-between state in which he doesn't really say much and yet kind of information just filters out and you're supposed to put two and two together, then the more speculation comes about. What I would say about Antoine Griezmann is that if I were him, I would be very careful in that I'm jumping ahead of the curve. That Atletico Madrid at some point is going to top out. At some point, this magic may run out. Do you jump ahead of that curve and you say, you know what, guys, it's been great. I've done as much as I could possibly do in this club, and it's now time to do something else, somewhere else, in front of different fans, with different players, and with different expectations. If Barcelona is knocking, then now is the time to go.
If he does love the club as much as he says, and I'm sure he does, then, as Ali pointed out, a quick decision would be better for everybody. Of
course.
It would be better for him to clear his mind, going to the World Cup. You never know what happens at the World Cup with injuries and whatnot. And it's better for Simeone and Atletico Madrid because they're, OK, right, we don't want to lose him, but we think that's going to be the case, so we can divert our mindset and our strategy to go and try and find an adequate replacement.
It would also be better for him when he comes back to Atletico Madrid. Because now, I'm going to guess that the fans at Atletico Madrid are also saying, well, is he coming? Is he staying? Sure. Are you really love us or not? Are you going to be part of this or not? This coming and going cannot sit well with anybody.
Meanwhile, Sid, let's stay in Madrid, shall we? It's the first time I think you've been on since Zinedine Zidane shocked the world and stepped down as coach of Real Madrid. Any more to that than maybe on face value?
Well, look, I think that there is, in the sense that the face value, I guess, is that this is a coach that's won 3 trophies in 3 years, 3 European Cups in a row, and this is a great time to go. And that he has been, effectively, because of that success, given the opportunity to take a decision that most managers at Real Madrid don't get the chance to take. You know, most managers get sacked. They don't walk when they want to. Now, that's the fundamental thing. But I think there are very definitely other elements in this, which he hinted at, in part, in his goodbye press conference. One of the things he didn't hint at is that, I think, the difference of opinion on some of the ways that Madrid build towards the future. We saw this very, very publicly when he basically blocked the move for Kepa from Athletic Bilbao in the transfer window in the winter. I think we know that he had a slightly different idea about the club in terms of what they do in pre-season. Now, these are not necessarily factors that of themselves trigger a departure, but I think they are elements in the decision-making process. And I also think the fact that this came so out of the blue, with no leaks, with some of his staff not even aware of this, with the players not knowing until literally kind of 60, 70 minutes before he went, I think that tells you that this was a decision, in terms of the final decision, taken very late. And that, of course, is not consistent